In the headlines, EFCC chairman wants review of Electoral Act to strengthen fight against vote buying. UK court convicts Ike Ekweremadu, wife Beatrice for organ harvesting. CBN orders banks to collect old Naira note deposits to address lingering cash scarcity. Away from Nigeria, Ethiopia appoints senior Tigray People's Liberation Front official as head of interim government. Hello and welcome to the news update on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ida. Thanks for joining. And the details. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, wants a review of the Electoral Act to expand the scope of the anti-graft agency's role in tackling the menace of vote buying and selling during elections. The EFCC boss, who raised the concern while hosting management of Media Trust Limited, also promised to work with the Media Trust platforms to reach out to Nigerians on the Commission's anti-corruption crusade. The report.
Recounting the EFCC's battle with perpetrators of vote buying and selling at the just concluded elections, Abdulrasheed Bawa wondered how politicians employ means of evading operatives to commit electoral crime, just as he lamented the limitation of the agency in dealing with the situation due to lack of adequate provisions in the Electoral Act.
Provisions of Section 126 of the Electoral Act, find it very, very difficult to prove, the issue of inducement, more so because the law says that it is an activity of inducement or trying to, coerce somebody into voting for candidate A rather than B, but only within 300 meters.
Bawa says he is not deterred by antics of his detractors in the fight against corruption in the country, as he is determined to lead agencies' operatives in tackling the monster, especially in public procurement, amongst others.
Currently, we are investigating two ministries. I'm digressing a bit. Two ministries where double payments were made. In one of the ministries, double payments cumulatively on about 20 contracts of over 4 billion naira. These are contracts that were done, way back 2018. And then some group of people, so bold, they came up with the same narration, removed the documents from the file, forged them, and then of course in conspiracy with a lot of civil servants, they raise vouchers again and pay. How can that happen if you have a digitalized procurement processes?
The EFCC chairman, while assuring the visiting Media Trust management of robust collaboration in strengthening the fight against corruption, congratulated the group on the emergence of Trust TV, which he says has been supportive in the anti-corruption fight.
Regarding our relationship with the Trust Media, I think it has been robust. We have been making efforts to ensure that we are with you in terms of publications that we are making. Almost on weekly basis, and just as you have said, if you want to talk to this part of the country, then you have to talk through the Trust Media Group.
Bawa headed the investigation against former Minister of Petroleum Resources Dizani Madueke and her associates in 2015. He was appointed substantive EFCC chairman in February 2021. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Coordinator of the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council in Zamfara State, Senator Kabiru Marafa, has condemned the killing of two persons, destruction and vandalization of campaign offices in Gusau, where valuables were carted away by suspected hoodlums. He said this shortly after conducting an on-the-spot assessment of the extent of damage of the APC presidential campaign offices in Gusau, the state capital. The report.
Zamfara State is one of the states that recorded violence during the governorship and state assembly elections. Suspected political thugs embarked on looting of valuable assets after the ruling APC lost the governorship election. Senator Kabir Marafa described the damage and destruction of the campaign offices as unfortunate, calling on political leaders to call their supporters to order to prevent escalation of wanton destruction.
Thank the police for the role they have played, and they have taken us round. We have seen some of the properties that were carted away from the buildings. They are put in safe custody because of rain. And he equally told me that he has suspects in his hands, especially those that killed some people. Like I said, we lost 2 people and properties worth of hundreds of millions of naira. So I am going to see him in the office and to invite him to go and pay visit, to especially our offices.
Dauda Lawal Dere, candidate of the People's Democratic Party, defeated incumbent Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale during the governorship election in the state.
Former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, his wife Beatrice, and their doctor have been convicted of organ trafficking in the first verdict of its kind under the Modern Slavery Act in the United Kingdom. Ekweremadu, 60, his wife Beatrice, 56, and Dr. Obinna Obeta, 51, were found guilty of facilitating the travel of a young man to Britain with a view to his exploitation after a 6-week trial at the Old Bailey. The jury said that Ekweremadu, his wife, and their doctor criminally conspired to bring the 21-year-old Lagos street trader to London to exploit him for his kidney. The prosecutor, Hugh Davis Casey, told the court that the Ekweremadus and the Obeta had treated the man and other potential donors as disposable assets or spare parts for reward. Davis said that the Ekweremadus entered an emotionally cold commercial transaction with the donor, adding that behavior of Ekweremadu showed entitlement, dishonesty, and hypocrisy. Ekweremadu, Obeta, and Beatrice all denied any knowledge of the alleged conspiracy. The judge, Justice Jeremy Johnson, will pass sentence at a later date. The Defense Headquarters says Nigerian troops have eliminated 46 terrorists and other criminals across northern Nigeria in the last 2 weeks. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Damadami, said this during the bi-weekly news conference on the operations of the armed forces on Thursday in Abuja. Damadami said that the troops also apprehended more than 50 terrorists and other criminals and also rescued 97 kidnapped victims within the period. In the northeast, Damadami said that the troops neutralized 18 Boko Haram Islamic State of West Africa province terrorists, arrested 6 logistics suppliers, and rescued 119 abducted civilians, among others. In the north central, the defense spokesman said that troops of Operation Safe Haven and Wild Stroke apprehended 28 bandits, criminals, and political thugs during the March 18 election across the zone, adding that a total of 8 bandits were eliminated in different operations while 5 kidnapped victims were rescued. In the northwest, Damadami said that troops of Operation Hadarin Daji within the period neutralized 14 terrorists, arrested 12 logistics suppliers, and rescued 16 abducted civilians, adding that the troops recovered large cache of arms, hard drugs, and assorted food items, and the sum of 9,670 naira. The General Officer commanding 1 Division Nigerian Army, Major General Toureed Lagbaja, said that Nigeria has recorded over 2,056 cases of fire incidents with a loss of over 1 trillion naira worth of properties in 2022. Lagbaja gave the figures during a fire prevention and management sensitization seminar held at the headquarters 1 Division Nigerian Army, Kaduna, on Thursday. The GOC, represented by Brigadier General Ugochukwu Ugeleka, explained that the seminar was part of the yearly calendar of the Army to engage barracks communities on fire prevention. According to him, there has been an increase in cases of fire due to population growth, unstable electricity, negligence, and illegal electrical connections, among others. Lagbaja said that the Nigerian Army was not left out of fire incidents that had damaged its property and endangered the lives of the personnel and their families in barracks and cantonments. He therefore said that it was imperative to sustain sensitization of fire prevention and management in all military barracks. Now, on cash crunch, the Central Bank of Nigeria has instructed commercial banks to immediately collect the old Naira notes they deposited in its branches to ease the cash crunch across the country. According to the directive starting Thursday, the commercial banks are free to withdraw the old notes they kept at the Apex Bank. This latest move and instruction from the Apex Bank came hours after the Nigeria Labour Congress directed all workers to picket all branch offices of the CBN nationwide starting next week over the current Naira scarcity in the country. Recall that the Apex Bank had mopped up the old 1,500 and 200 Naira notes in response to the introduction of new ones as part of the cashless policy of the federal government. The House of Representatives has called on the Central Bank of Nigeria to direct all commercial banks in the country to immediately overhaul their existing online banking platforms to ease electronic banking operations. The call followed a motion by Representatives Sargios Ogun at plenary. Ogun stated that there has been an increase in the use of online and electronic banking services across the country in the wake of the recent Naira redesign and cash withdrawal limit policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The lawmaker, however, noted that the use of online or internet banking services in the past 3 months has been characterized by varying degrees of hitches.
The House also acknowledges that the use of online or internet banking services by Nigerians in the past 3 months or thereabout has been characterized by varying degrees of hitches ranging from unsuccessful electronic bank transfers, point of sale POS, service failure, and a host of others. The House is disturbed that the ineffectiveness or difficulty in using internet banking services across the online banking platforms of most commercial banks in Nigeria has brought untold hardship, suffering, and difficulties on Nigerians in the past 3 months.
Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria has made passionate appeal to Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike to intervene to stop planned demolition of a property belonging to Dar Communications PLC. A letter signed by Board Chairman John Ugbe implores Wike to quickly intervene to stop the demolition. Board reminded the governor that the Dar property located at Uzoba in Port Harcourt is subject of litigation, asking him to allow justice to take its course. The organization asked the governor to pursue an out-of-court settlement as a media-loving governor. Rivers State Governor has served 48 hours quit notice to Dar Communications, owners of African Independent Television, to vacate part of its premises in Port Harcourt. The demolition notice is contained in a letter dated March 20, 2023 and signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Rivers State Ministry of Works, Ebere Dennis Menike. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at why driving license expires on date of birth. Details of this and more after the break.
Are you a creative, a videographer, producer, or content creator? Trust TV is calling for entries for a short documentary and skit competition. To qualify for this entry, send your short documentary or skit of not more than 5 minutes on health or any social-related issues to creatives@trusttv.com. Using this format, title, duration, first name, phone number, and a summary of the production of not more than 1 paragraph. Winners will be engaged for production for Trust TV, and prizes will be won by the overall winner and the first and second runner-up. Opens from 19th March 2023 to 31st March 2023.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
A Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Really, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back from that break. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at the top stories again. UK court convicts Ike Ekweremadu, wife Beatrice, for organ harvesting. EFCC chairman wants review of Electoral Act to strengthen fight against vote buying. Now, moving on, wheat farmers in Jigawa State say that this year's harvest is threatened by a number of factors, raising fear of possible food shortage. Trust TV Northwest correspondent Idris Jibrin, who spoke with the farmers in Jigawa, reports that many fertile lands earmarked for wheat production could not be cultivated this year due to the lack of improved seeds and other requirements.
Annually, Aliko Umar used to be assisted with improved seeds, fertilizer, irrigation machines and other wheat farming equipment by the government. But 2023 wheat farming season seems different.
Most of our farmers are very willing to farm, and they have done a lot. The federal government was not able to arrange for giving out loans to farmers. Unfortunately, due to so many reasons. In the first place, there is this transition of government from the current administration to the next that is just coming in. That is one. Secondly, the loan could not be disbursed to the farmers because I will tell you that some of the farmers are not willing to pay the previous loans given to them.
There are many other farmers in Jigawa State who are currently harvesting their wheat, but they say the yield is very poor compared to the last year's farming season.
We were promised fertilizer, but they didn't give us. In fact, as of now, we can't even afford to buy the fertilizer because of its high price. In most cases, we don't even get money to pay our workers.
Babu cash.
According to the Wheat Farmers Association in the state, the inability of government to assist in this year's wheat farming, the CBN new Naira policy, among other problems, have worsened the situation this year.
While the only thing is to give thanks to God, because farmers in Jigawa State, like always, have tried their best to farm. But unfortunately, there were promises made which are not fulfilled. They promised to give them loans so that they can improve the wheat farming, but they didn't give them.
The implication of this has already led to an increase in the price of wheat across many parts of the country. And there are growing concerns that many farmers may stay away from wheat cultivation during the forthcoming wheat season farming, unless, of course, government provides them with certified seeds and other farming equipment. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Jigawa.
Federal Safety Corps has explained the reason why expiry of driver's license is linked to the date of birth of users, contrary to the belief that users are shortchanged on validity of the document. FRSC Deputy Corps Commander Abdurrahman Bima speaks to Noel Samson on the main logic behind the linkage and other issues.
A driver's license is a legal authorization or the official document confirming such an authorization for a specific individual to drive or operate one or more types of motorized vehicles, such as motorcycles, cars, trucks, or buses, and such document is renewable upon expiring depending on the country. It can be every 3 years or 5 years. In Nigeria, expiry date of license is automatically linked to the date of birth, and the Federal Road Safety Corps explains why.
Individual, like I've just said, most Nigerians, as we know, celebrate their date of birth. And as such, when you obtain a driver's license, says for 3 years or 5 years, you already know if you do it today, in the next 5 years, when you'll be celebrating your birthday, you are already aware that your license is due for renewal. You don't have to even wait until that date. By law, a month to that date, you should start processing the renewal of the driver's license.
He also addressed the issue of closing hours for FRSC officials, as it has always been a subject of speculation.
People don't know our schedules of duties. As far as operation is concerned, we work 24 hours. We work 24 hours. Our patrolmen work from 6 in the morning, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the evening. Patrol operations close by 6 p.m. If there is to be night patrol, the night patrol extends beyond that period. It extends beyond that period. We don't work on the highway 24 hours, but our services are there 24 hours. Services like rescue services. We have our standby team in all our offices, operational offices. In case of emergency, they can be called and they move to the scene. Generally, we operate on highways, but we don't operate in residential areas.
BIMA advised drivers not to be on the roads with expired license. The quickest way to remembering license expiry, he said, is date of birth. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration has restated its commitment to the provision of safe and accessible water for residents in the capital city. The FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Aliyu, stated this at the flag-off of a water scheme in Piakasa as part of activities to mark the 2023 Water Day.
Aliyu, who was represented by Ibrahim Abubakar, said the FCTA is committed to ensuring that communities within the territory are provided with safe water, no matter how remote they are.
Today is World Water Day. It's been marked globally across the world, where citizens or teeming population of the world are expected to have a very clean, good water, and not even only having good, clean water, but they should be accessible to the water. And that is why we are here today as an administration, to provide a very befitting water scheme for the community.
This is very significant in the sense that we want to remind ourselves of the importance of water, use of water, conservation of water, protecting water sources, so that in the course of doing other things, we don't contaminate the God-given resource that we have. And if you look at it, of all the natural resources that God has given the world, God has given Nigeria and Abuja, water is the most taken for granted resource. Therefore, we need to tell ourselves that this resource, we should not take it for granted. We should value it, we should cherish it, and take care of it.
Representatives of the community were appreciative of the government gesture, noting that the waterborne diseases will drastically reduce, while the sanitation aspect of their lives will greatly improve.
I have to thank God, thank the minister. Water is life, and for the rural areas, for them providing the water for us, we wish to thank them and then request the government to continue supporting the rural areas due to the influx of the population of the people.
As population is increasing, the amenity we are having are being overstretched. because of population. You describe the village is expanding. Some areas don't have enough water, but with the coming of this water, it will solve so many problems. And that is why I say we need more, so that people will be accessible to what government is providing.
For many, the importance of creating social amenities, especially water, will go a long way to cushion the suffering encountered by the people.
Honestly, I really appreciate what the federal government is doing for the Piakasa community through Ruwasa. It's so wonderful. It shows that they are carrying the grassroots people along to drink a water like this for the grassroots. It shows they have concern.
For residents of this community, it is the dawn of a new era as they look towards a cleaner and healthier life. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And on the foreign scene, Ethiopian government on Thursday appointed a Tigrayan rebel figure, Getachew Reda, to head the interim government of the northern region, a major step in the implementation of the signed agreement by the two sides after 2 years of civil war. Reda, an advisor to the leader of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Debretsion Gebremichael, was previously the spokesperson for the movement. On Wednesday, Ethiopian MPs removed the TPLF from the list of terrorist entities as provided for in the peace agreement signed by the rebel movement with the Ethiopian government last November in Pretoria. The removal of the terrorist designation paved the way for the establishment of an inclusive interim Tigrayan regional government, also provided for in the agreement, to be led by the TPLF until elections can be held. In accordance with the peace agreement, the fighting has stopped while basic services such as electricity, telecommunications, and banks have begun to be re-established in Tigray, and access to the region, which was virtually cut off from the world for nearly 2 years, has been reopened, notably to the humanitarian aid on which 90% of its 6 million inhabitants depend. And that's it for the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.